Hello, good merry morning. So it is 6:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am not on the beach. I was like, "Ooh, do I go to the beach?" But I'm a morning person. But I woke up at 3:30 this morning and I feel groggy. And I'm more of a I want to just sit at home and like sip my coffee. And the idea of going on a subway this early, that's not a problem for me. I don't give a shit. I just didn't want to do it this morning. That's all. I'm just making up excuses. This is why I'm not at the beach. So my son made a comment this morning and it was like, whoa. And it's hilarious because I'm a writer. Like I'm a fucking published author. And I was actually talking to my copywriter about this. I can sit down and write a marathon of words and have them flow with breathtaking ease. But I can't write a fucking 500 word blurb on the back of my book. And we decided in our meeting the other day that marathon writing is not the same creature as condensed writing. Now, when you're on Facebook and you're doing content, everything is like 5 words or less. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like my fucking nightmare because I'm a marathon writer. My son walks in and here I am like posting articles and posting shit day after day. Like, this is what I do. This is what I do. In fact, this morning I have like a 1,000 word essay on what it is I do. It's very, very beautiful. I love the way it flowed. But then my son walks in and he drops this: you reformat people. And I'm like, what the fuck? 3 fucking words. 3 fucking words. And I'm like, I do. I reformat people. I fucking reformat people. What the fuck? And I just got outwritten by my son, which is fantastic. He's smarter than he knows. But I just got outwritten by my son. And I'm going to talk about my son because he's here and it's going to be funny watching me talk about him while he tries and remains his composure while he eats breakfast. So and he's shy, so he won't come right up and like he's welcome to talk. And you've heard Elizabeth every now and then, she can't keep quiet where she'll pop off with something and it's like, there you go, come on, speak. We all came from a system where we were slaves. Terrorism was used to control us. And I had a period where I very much was part of the problem, where I enabled the problem. And believe you me, we all know how hard it is to acknowledge your own fuck-uppery. When you look back and you go, yeah, I was abusive too. It's so fucking hard. And the only consolation you get is knowing that you've grown and that you're better and you learned. Without those things, you don't get that consolation. So for me, it's, I'm gonna grow the hell out of myself to make sure I make up for what I did. And my son was called stupid most of his life by me. It was a practice that,
Like by Isaac.
yes, yes, but I'm taking responsibility for me. His stepfather also. And it was something that I did when I was a child to my younger brother, where I was allowed to call him stupid. Now, my brother is second stage perspective, and he still is. And my brother is just different. And then it was basically, I was never taught, structured, disciplined. It was something I never should have been allowed to say when I was a child. And then I got to be a mom. And I did end up lashing out because my son was male, was a male child. It's an adjective.
Taking responsibility for Isaac. You don't have to do that.
I know. I have a story and I'm getting to it. Yes. And my then husband also was very, very abusive on a whole nother level. That's something else. But Yeah, and I think that's it. My son's defending me. He's very protective of me. He does not like anyone offending me or talking bad about me, even me. And my son's the middle child, and he's also my only son. And we have a very special relationship. He was the first person to believe in me. It was extraordinary. When I became a published author, I couldn't go to the grocery store without him telling people, my mom's a published author. And it was really humbling, embarrassing at first. And I was aware it was just his pride. And I was invited because he talked so much about me to his classmates and his teachers. They invited me in to do writing sessions where I went in and talked to children about what it's like to be a published author. So it's been a solid relationship all of our lives. And it was a very, very difficult start because of my trauma. And I noticed very quickly the damage that I was causing because of my trauma. And that was a huge motivator for me to get my shit together. And then our relationship literally switched around when he was around 4 and 5. And then I started fighting for him. And when I started fighting for him, his behavior changed. And then he and I became like this solid, I got your back. The problem was we lived with, well, a ferocious man who very much, well, as narcissists do, it was divide and conquer, where I was to be isolated. The children each were isolated. And if anyone wanted to talk to anyone, they had to go through the narcissist. And I lived like that until I was about for 12 years. That was the way things were. And it was like the last year was 2019 that the fighting, the
14 years.
14 years, the fighting was so out of hand at one point. And it was something where I would hear the screaming and the banging and the pounding. And I would leave my nest. Remember, I was a shut-in during this time. I would leave my nest to go find out what was going on. And my 6'1" tall husband would just scream, "Go back to your hole. You're making it worse." And it was like, okay. And I did. I'd go back. But this one time, the last time I didn't, I wanted to talk to my son to find out what was going on. And he barricaded himself between my son and me. And there was screaming. And it was the one time I roared up and just said, I am going to talk to my son. And it was this solid establishment of that is my biological son, and you're a fucking stepfather. Get out of my way. He never spoke to my son again, ever. Not unless he was abusing him. But that was the end of him trying to do anything fatherly, quote unquote, with my son. And honestly, I think it was the best thing for him because it immediately took the situation from black or from gray, from confusing, from I'm going to try and be your buddy to being this abusive monster to now I'm just going to be an abusive monster. And when he switched over to agreeing to finally become just the abusive monster, it removed the inconsistency, which stopped the confusion. And it was very easy at that point for my son and I to see, oh, yeah, he's a fucking monster. And that was when I realized I needed to get the fuck out of there with my children. My biggest regret is not forcing my then 17-year-old, 18-year-old daughter to come with me. Was Emily 18 at that time?
You might, well, COVID hit. That's when you moved out.
Right. 2020. Was Emily 18 in 2020?
That was 3 years
Was she
ago.
17 or 18? I think she was 17. I think
She was 18.
she was 18?
18 or 19.
No, she was definitely not 19.
You are a year and a half.
Either she was so old that I felt forcing her would cause her mental trauma, or she was 18 and I felt she legally needed to make the decision, which is such bullshit. It's because the patriarchy puts this line in the sand. Well, according to legal, she's an adult now. That's fucking bullshit. She has Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, she was definitely 17. Sorry.
She was 17? Okay. So she was 17, and I was worried about the trauma of me ripping her away from her stepfather. And I realized now that she had Stockholm syndrome. And so did I. We all did. And it was when we got away from the abuse that we got into our home. And I remember it was a month after. My daughter, my youngest daughter, my son and I, and my brother were all living in this apartment in Endicott. And my brother very casually, with no rage or anger, just casually said, "There's a smell in the fridge." Without hesitation, I, my son, and my daughter jumped like a choreographed ballet. We shifted, we moved, we executed. I got it. Bring it over here. Got it. All right, get it out of there. And we moved so efficiently. That was the trauma. That all of our lives, my children and I had been working together to diffuse situations to prevent my ex from knowing, to avoid the trauma. And we had mastered this dance so efficiently that just from a single complaint, "There's something smelling in the fridge," I watched everyone drop what they were doing and executed with the efficiency of a 17th century English soldier move in the kitchen.
I don't think it worked out too well because he kept saying that if something were like spoiled or something, we should tell him that we can go to replace it.
Yeah, that was control, honey.
Yeah.
That was
So
control.
I got in trouble that way.
Yeah, that's the way you are with a narcissist. That's the way it is with a narcissist. We get in trouble no matter what. There is no win with a narcissist. Thank you. That's actually really great insight you gave me, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, there is no win with a narcissist. You are set up to lose. And that's just it. It's lose lose. I do so much better when I engage with people when I do this thing rather than just talk to you. So thank you, Daniel, for like.
That's why there's things like talk shows. That way people aren't just talking.
I know. Oh, I agree very much. I would love to do talk shows, except, and I talked about this yesterday, except you have to get up at 3 a.m. You have to be at the studio at 4 a.m. They have to do makeup and all that shit. I will never do a talk show because I'd have to be at the studio at 4 a.m. I'm not doing that shit.
I wouldn't do it because of the makeup though.
Well, I don't mind that. The studio would have to be in my home. I would have to turn my home into an actual TV studio, which I could do. I could do that. Like, no, everyone has to come here. And if we're here at 3 a.m., I'm sorry, I'm putting on makeup. Wow. I'm not going to make myself look pretty for the camera. You're going to watch me get pretty. That's how I would do my talk show. But it was this choreographed dance was my wake up call. It was all of our wake up call. In the middle of it, we took everything out of the fridge, dumped whatever was smelling inside the sink. I had somebody bagging up the garbage and taking it, and I didn't have them. They were doing it automatically. I cannot explain the pristine execution. 2 minutes, and the kitchen was transformed. It was extraordinary. And it was while I was scrubbing with this frantic, "Oh my God, he's coming. I got to hide this before he gets here," that I just stopped and went, "I'm safe now."
You don't think people would hear this and be like, "Hey, I can use that on my children"? What do you?
Oh God, no. People don't. They love their children.
Good.
People really love their children. That's your trauma speaking, by the way.
I was just thinking about things you said about Dylan because he was
Dylan, people like Dylan do not go to help videos. People like he's my ex-roommate who abused us. Abusive people like that do not seek to help themselves.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
So
they also wouldn't just like skip to the exact part unless it's just like
no. And they already know the shit. There are people who already know the shit. There are books out there that teach these assholes how to be abusive. It's on the black market. Yeah. It's on the black web. You can actually get how to abuse people written out in scripted format.
I guess you could also get it if you're trying to avoid it, like just dark psychology books.
Well, yeah.
Because
it
makes you more aware.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was actually a concern that I had when I put this stuff out there is, will the wrong people use this? And I realized they would never come here. They would never, ever come here. And eventually someone's going to find it and they're going to make up the grid of, okay, this is how to get over these obstacles. Honestly, our only hope is to educate people, which is why I focus on educating people and helping the people who are targeted rather than trying to help the people who are the abusers. The abusers, everyone has to find their way to get their own help. So my fight is focused on giving people the tools they need to prevent re-abuse. That's my focus. Um, but it was when I was washing out the stuff in the sink and I was watching my son take down the garbage and my daughter was already wiping down the fridge and I didn't have to say anything. The only thing that had been spoken was something smells in the fridge. And I just burst into tears, fell on the floor, shaking from head to foot from the terrorism, the domesticated terrorism that I had been living under. And that was the day, 1 month after moving out, that I realized how deeply embedded into my subconsciousness it was. Yesterday,
sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, we did a similar procedure when they moved out, like Michael and Dylan, because the fridge was really messy and filled with their food.
Yeah. But we did that because we were purging the toxic. We were purging the narcissism out of this house.
There's still a lot to go.
There is still a lot to go. But our motive was not out of a trigger response. Yeah. And that's the difference.
Well, I mean, it kind of was, because if we didn't do it, then someone would get triggered, like you were Liz. Liz was triggered.
Liz was triggered, yes. Liz, we're working on her triggers, yes.
Yeah, she was triggered. That's why we did it in the first place.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons. That's correct, yeah.
But I think it was the main one, or one of them.
Yeah. So I've been encouraging him to do podcasting. I think he would do really well with this, especially in defining himself. And he struggles because he's on walkabout in that age where he's trying to find his identity. And our society pushes our children to get out of the nest, get out of the nest, get out of the nest. And I am not of that opinion. And I learned this when I started hanging around other cultures, when I got away from white culture. I noticed that Latino families don't do this. I noticed that Black families don't do this. It's just white families that do it. This whole get the fuck out of my house when you're 18. That's white man mentality.
They think family is all they have, so they try to keep it close-knit.
Who's they?
The other ethnicities.
The other ethnicities value family.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
They value family like I've never seen it. And it was extraordinary to see how much they value family. And you don't see it until you're mingling with the other cultures and you go, oh my God, you actually give a shit about each other on a level. And this is where I get a lot of white people saying to me, we care about each other. Yeah, you should see a family event. Go to a Christmas party with a bunch of Colombians. Oh my God, it was extraordinary. It was a level of love I have never in my life seen. White people are saturated with narcissism, so that the majority of white people only know narcissism. And when you know narcissism, you don't know love. You think you do. And then you step into a culture like the Black culture where there's not a lot of narcissism. And you step into Latino cultures where there's not a lot of narcissism. I have yet to see a Latino narcissist. I have yet to see that. And it was amazing. There was so much love, so much acceptance, no rejection, no abandonment. Now, this is not a blanket statement. I'm not saying all and never. I am saying the majority and the societal norm. This is not about your personal story. This is about the societal statistical average. And it was extraordinary to see. And it really drew my attention to how, well, horrific white culture is. I have a lot to say on this morning, and I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on my politics. And I don't think I'm going to separate them from shifting perspectives. I was going to put my political views into a separate subcategory, but I studied sociology, the study of the evolution of culture and societal interaction. And that is very much a part of psychology and philosophy. So yeah, It belongs in shifting perspectives. I'm not going to filter myself anymore. And I think that is why I had so many podcasts to start with, is I was filtering myself. I was filtering myself for these people, and I was filtering myself for these people. Shifting perspectives is for the scientifics, for the science minded. And I wanted to make sure that, if people of education and society wanted to indulge in my knowledge, they wouldn't be bombarded with my feminism. So I took my feminism and I put it over here, and I took my artistic theatrical flair and I put it over there. And then I took my BDSM love and passion for Zen and I put it over there. And that was just me all over. And I totally just quoted on purpose my favorite line in Wizard of Oz, which is when the monkeys flew down and ripped out all the straw of the scarecrow and they threw it all over the place. And they kidnapped Dorothy and Toto, poor Toto. And then the other two came over and they're like, "Oh, what has happened to you?" And the scarecrow goes, "They took my stomach out and they threw it over there. And then they took my arms off and they threw it over there. And then they took my arm out and they threw it over there." And well, that's just you all over. And that is exactly it. I was doing that. We all do that. Boom. We all do it. We all do that. We take parts of ourselves and we put it over there. We put parts of ourselves and we throw it over there because we are filtering to accommodate everybody else. Shifting perspectives is against that. That's the point. I'm not going to fucking filter myself anymore. You get all of me or none of me. You don't get to filter because I'm sure as fuck not going to filter. Now, if you want to take the time to hack through my material and weed out all of my different points, knock yourself out. But I am not going to filter anymore. None of us should be filtering anymore. I went to the beach yesterday with friends. It's the first time since May that I've been out with friends. I got an invite to Coney Island to go to the beach, and my immediate response was, "Oh my God, I want to go to the beach. And there's going to be people there who I know." So, I was excited. And I did a whole, no, I really need to be responsible. And then I signed my lease, and this feeling of safety rolled off my back, and I went, my children are secure. My children are safe. I can go play now. And I realized in that moment that the reason why I had not done anything but work in my home was because I was not certain my children were safe. And after I signed that lease, I went, my children are safe. They have a home. They are in a lock and key apartment with no one who can come in here. My children are safe.
Dylan can.
No, he cannot.
He still has
Legally, he cannot.
Yeah.
I have a lease now. If he shows up, I can just hand that up over to the police and say, I have a signed lease. This is my apartment. He's trespassing. Booyah. I can have him arrested on the spot for trespassing.
Yeah. No, I was just saying technically you could.
So officially, he was a squatter too. He didn't pay a day's rent. He was also a squatter. Oh my God, this is phenomenal.
Is it a good thing?
It's a very good thing.
To announce that on camera.
Oh yeah.
The fact that you were a squatter.
Oh yeah, I was a legal squatter. Squatting is fine. I was in the loophole. There's nothing wrong with that. No, they know about my situation. I've explained it. No, I took it to an attorney and I spent 3 hours talking to an attorney about the laws here. And she looked at me and she said, well, congratulations. You are legally squatting. You found a loophole. You fell in the legal cracks. Good. Congratulations. You are living rent-free in New York City indefinitely. And I did. I lived in New York City rent-free for a year because I fell into the legal. Yeah, I found quite by accident a legal loophole that allowed me to live in New York City rent-free. I call it manifestation, and the universe was looking out for me. That's what I call it. But I was able to go to this event yesterday. I was nervous. I didn't have anxiety. It was a small group, which was very good for me. I had already met 2 of the 3 people there, and the other person I met was wonderful. It was really a perfectly friendly, happy, safe environment. I had a phenomenal time. I learned a lot about me, friendships, relationships. I have a lot of growing to do. I found a massive gap in my growth. Friendships. When you're a slave, you don't get to have them. And I realized living under white rule, yeah, white rule, living under white rule my whole life.
Isaac wasn't white.
He was fucking white.
Oh. Oh, okay.
He was a white man who claimed he was a Native American.
Okay.
And he was raised by white man ethics, white man mentality. Yeah, no. And he had, I don't want to get into that.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was insightful, living with him. That being said, where do I even begin? I'm watching the birds right now, and the cats are all in the windows, like glaring at these birds. I had a lot to learn, and I grew a lot. And I realized just today just how little I don't know about friendships.
How little you do know about
Don't know. My only friend I had for 17 years, and she was a narcissist.
So you're saying you know almost everything about friendships?
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying I know nothing.
You said how little I don't know.
How little I, oh, I see. Double negative. I see. Thank you. How much I don't know about friendships. Thank you, Dan. How little I know about friendships. And it's fantastic because now I have a safe place. I have good people who I can start to nurture and grow that into. I feel great about that. And then my son came out here this morning and he said, "You reformat people."
I didn't just come out here and say that out of the blue. You were talking about, like, asking me what I thought you did, and I'm like, oh.
That's correct. Yeah. Yes. But I paraphrased. And I am reformatting myself. I did reformat myself. I'm reformatting the entire psychology field. That is my goal. I'm reformatting the whole damn system if I can, because the system is what is breaking people. The mindset is what's breaking people. And it's this massive coming together of realizing this is a reformation. That's it. I am on the front lines of change. That is my mission. That is my calling. And that is my goal. I am on the front lines of change. And as a result, I'm going to talk about the secret slaves of white men, their wives. I'm going to talk about the cultural differences between white man culture and how Black men and Latino men are. And I am going to talk about the horrors and fears of living as a white woman, as a possession, as someone who is owned. When I tell my story to people, the first question I get is, "Oh my God, where were you?" And I can see what they're thinking. You want to hear that I'm in Africa? You want to hear about how I was in like some Asian country, right? How I was trafficked overseas? No. My story is the story of every fucking white woman in America. Too many white women message me and say, "Your story is just like mine."
I just realized something. You know the thing that we were saying about other people, how they're tight knit about their families?
Yes.
I think that's kind of why they're not allowing anybody to harm them or whatnot, because people know that their families will beat them up.
Yes.
So that's probably why they stay close together, which is a good
thing. I have too many theys. I have too many undefined antecedents.
Stay together.
No. White families, Black families, Latino families, ethnic families.
Anybody except the white family.
Okay, so the ethnic families.
Yes.
Correct. Yes, they
Yes.
protect.
Yes.
When I lived in white society, it was it was very common to hear the bragging among the white men, literally the bragging, that you don't date black or Latino women because if you do, their fathers and sons and brothers will come after you and
Oh,
beat you up.
yes.
And it never occurred to me why until I started dating ethnic groups, until I started to get away from white man and step into other cultures. And I realized it's because white men treat their fucking women like garbage. And no one knows about this because white women are terrorized into silence. We are conditioned to look like Leave It to Beaver housewives, that you smile and that you act obedient. And if you don't, there will be hell to pay. And if you don't, it's your children who will pay. That is what it's like being married to a white man. That your children are leveraged to keep you in check. And that our fathers know about it and don't care. Our brothers make jokes about it. And this is normal in white society. I had a large family of 60 people. And they all knew I was beaten. I had black eyes. My aunt looked at me one day and went, "Huh, who gave you the shiner?" Now, if that were a Latino or a black family, someone would get their ass beat for
They'd,
beating a woman.
they'd still be asking who gave you the shiner because they beat after that person.
Exactly. In that atmosphere, it was a joke. And then
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, I I remember my father and my entire white family on my father's side, my paternal side, slandering and trashing my mother's side of the family. God, it's such a narcissistic thing, and I'm just now noticing it. They abused her family so much and isolated her from her family that she was completely cut off from them. So I only saw my mother's family maybe 3 or 4 times in my entire life. I don't even call my mother's mother grandmom. I call her my mother's mother. I have always called her my mother's mother. There's no relationship between us. And I remember I went to their house one day. It was my mom's side of the family. And my cousin was upstairs screaming. And my mom went, "What's wrong with Erica?" And my aunt said, "Well, she was raped." White culture. That's white culture. We don't care. We just don't give a fuck. It's too inconvenient to care. And this is really what really hit home. Is I put myself out there. I start getting into the psych field. I start getting clients. I start talking to women. Every one of them, almost every one of them, is a white battered woman. And I'm looking at it going, the only time I have ever seen a, and it's true, in my experience, the only time I have seen a black or Latino man with a white woman is when he seeks to abuse her. Because the majority of black women and Latino women and Indian women don't tolerate that shit. You can't abuse those women because their brothers and their fathers will come after your ass. And white men know this. White men sit there and they go, "Yup, don't ever, just stick with white women because the others will beat your ass." And it's just, it's not talked about. It is not talked about. My mom tried to extract herself from her situation. She was labeled a slut, a whore. She was ostracized by 3 of her children. And I ostracized myself, and my oldest daughter ostracized, or I extracted myself, and my oldest daughter has ostracized me. My youngest brother calls me a slut and a whore, and he refers to me by my mother's name as a label to say, you abandon your family. And I didn't abandon my family. I extracted myself from my slave owners. And there's a difference. And when I came out, I got a lot of, you weren't a slave. And I had people showing me pictures of black slaves from the 18th century with scars all over their backs. Here's the thing, that was a man. Show me the women. Show me the women. No, you don't want to make a pretty woman ugly, so you give her other scars. The women were raped. The men were beaten and lashed. Because you don't want to spoil the merchandise. And I lived for 40 years as merchandise. I know what it feels like. And I have these women coming to me going, I don't know what's wrong. I've had horrible husband after horrible husband. And I'm going, sweetheart, you're merchandise. You always have been. And most people just don't know it because they have Stockholm syndrome and psychological entrapment. And they've been forced a perspective that shows them a matrix that prevents them from seeing the truth. That white women are the silent slaves of white man, conditioned to remain smiling, obedient, or else your children suffer.
You were talking about Emily with the grandma situation, like how you ostracized, and now Emily's ostracizing.
Ostracizing me, yeah.
Yeah. If you came back in the future, then it's likely that Emily will too, because she'll eventually see what you were doing, like you did with Grandma.
I never ostracized my mom.
Oh.
I accepted her fully.
I thought you said you did.
No, my sister and my 2 brothers did.
Ah.
I was the only one who, I didn't understand her at the time. I just understood that she was a very mentally ill woman, and she is and was. And I saw her identity separate from her subconscious mind. And I did not judge her identity for the actions of her subconscious mind. And that's just it. You know, I had this really interesting thought yesterday that we all have our own ethical perspective. And when you choose a partner, you really need to be choosing a partner with the same ethical perspective as you. But because we're all wearing masks, the 4th perspective or the 3rd perspective, we're not actually choosing based off of the right perspective. So I was a 6th perspective when I got married, but I was showing a 4. I was showing a 3 perspective on the outside. And my then husband was showing a 3 perspective. So we looked like on the surface we were matching, only to find out that he is actually a 3 perspective and a 2 perspective. And I'm a 6 perspective. So that when I healed, I went, oh, I'm a 6th perspective. And then my then husband looked at me, first husband, and said, you're not the same person. Oh, no. I've always been the same person. I was just always a 6th perspective, but I pretended to be a 3rd perspective, 4th perspective to accommodate society. And now I'm healed. And he is still the 2nd, 3rd perspective. He will always be a 2nd, 3rd perspective because he values comfort over growth. And that's just the way he is.
The way most people are.
That's the way most people are, yeah. And, well, no, not most people. I specifically just said that he is 2nd perspective who values comfort.
No, I meant the valuing comfort over growth, not the 2nd.
No, we value safety. We are confusing safety with comfort. There's safety, comfort, growth. Safety, comfort, growth. 3 different things. Everyone's valuing safety.
Yeah.
Comfort.
Yeah,
Once you eliminate safety, now you can actually choose, do you want comfort or growth? If safety were not an issue, there you go. This is fantastic. If safety were not an issue, would you savor comfort or would you grow? If you knew you could be safe when you grow, if you knew you could be, this is what I'm dealing with right now, a cattail. If you knew you could have safety when you grow, and if you knew you could have safety when you're comfortable, which would you choose? That would determine whether or not you value comfort or growth. But a lot of people are prioritizing safety. Actually, it's the subconscious mind that values safety. The identity values growth, and the identity values comfort. It's the subconscious mind that goes, no, we're not safe. Nobody move. So the subconscious mind immediately freezes all of us and locks us into one place. And now comfort and growth are completely off the table because now we're surviving. Gotta love that subconscious mind.
She's watching the birds again.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking at this point.
Wow.
I do that.
Didn't you
I
mention?
learned yesterday that when we stare off into space, it's because we're processing, and that's part of the pre-epiphany. That is the pre-epiphany moment. That's what it is. It's actually, this is amazing. I was like studying the brain yesterday with dopamine after I had an epiphany. And right before you have an epiphany, your visual shuts down. That's why you stare off into space and you're processing. It's the preliminary before you have an epiphany, which means I'm about to have an epiphany. I think you have to do that so many times before the epiphany actually hits. And it fills up your cup and it fills up your cup. And once the cup is maxed out, poof, you have the epiphany. So every time I stare off into space, I'm in that, an epiphany is coming.
I remember what you said earlier at the beginning. You said that you were not a marathon, right? You were a marathon.
I am a marathon writer,
I
yes.
am not.
You are not a marathon writer?
I can barely get to chapter 2 in a book, like when I'm writing.
When you're writing? Yeah. Yeah, you are probably more into the content then. Yeah, which is why you were able to pop off with, you reformat people. It's like, why the fuck couldn't I write that? Thank you. I appreciate it. But it's very humbling that I can't come up with 3 fucking words. I reformat people. I reformat people? That's what I do for a living. I reformat people. I reformat societies. I reformat systems. That is what I do. I reformat. I love this. I reformat people. I love this. This is going to be like my thing from now on. I reformat people. I might change my motto for like 3 months and just, I reformat people. Come, be reformatted. I'm going to reformat you. I call it mental metamorphosis. Mental metamorphosis. But I reformat people. Come, be reformatted. It's so wonderful. Go from conditional living to authentic living in 12 easy steps. And they are easy steps. 12 easy steps to reformat your life and become the you've always wanted to be. Now, this is the kind of shit that I'm enjoying.
I don't think you can say easy because that is your perspective.
Of course, everything is my perspective. But through simplicity, simple. It is simple. Simple steps, not easy. Simple steps.
There you go.
Yeah, simple. Yeah, simple. I love that. And it is simple. In truth, there is simplicity. God, I love Sir Isaac Newton. He is the fucking bomb.
He's dead, Mom.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, first of all, I have been in love with fictional characters and dead people my whole life.
Yeah,
Okay, Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, Puccini, Freddie Mercury. I love Freddie Mercury. So I am not new to loving dead people. Okay, this is normal for me. It was very common where I'd find someone and be like, oh my God, I love this person, and they're dead. Okay. Like I accepted this when I was 15. Everyone I love is dead. All right then. So it's just that simple. I'm there it is. I got Freddie Mercury on my wall. I do. I have a collage of Freddie Mercury.
You have 2 paintings on this wall. I don't see any others.
Well, that's because they're well, I have my 2 canvases, but then I have like 4 photographs of Freddie I need to get up on the wall. A collage of Freddie Mercury. When he sings just for me. That's right. That's right. When he sings just for me. That is exactly how I view his voice. Every time he sings, I'm like, oh, yes. That man crawled into my brain, said, what does Anna like? And boom, there's Freddie Mercury. And I'm like, yes, yes, I'm so happy. Everything I love about everybody is crammed into that man. I love him. I'm very happy. Okay, I'm going to calm down now. Yes, this is a 20-year long mental love affair. I love Freddie Mercury. Yes. I used to do Freddie Fridays when I worked in the hell of a cubicle. Freddie Fridays, where I would turn on Queen and that was it. The office had to listen to Queen. It's like, sorry, but it's Freddie Friday. That this no, we're doing Freddie Friday. Queen. I loved it.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna wrap this up and I'm going to contemplate life, the meaning, and everything. If you want more shit like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want even more shit like this, subscribe to my newsletter. And if you can't get enough shit like this and you want it more organized and condensed in an actual strategic pattern, join my masterclasses. They are fucking epic. Take a look down below. I currently have a lot right now, and just take a look at my masterclasses. The link is down below. I do a lot. I also have a cruise ship for 7-day healing respite coming up in February. That's available now. I have a BDSM Zen BDSM workshop that's coming up, and if you are in the New York City area, oh please join me for my healing circles. They are epic. It's 3 hours of just fully engulfing anything you can imagine when it comes to the healing journey. It's like we're going to cram all of the healing things into 3 hours. I'm very, very excited about that. So take a look at that. And we also have membership available where you can join Journey into the Self, which is the integration workshop. My integration workshop is solely focused on integrating all of the stuff I teach you, all of your healing, so that it actually gets applied in a systematic process. It's amazing. And that is available over at Journey into the Self. Take a look at that. You'll get daily reminders. You will get a full workout plan on your Healing Garden starter pack. That is free and it comes with Journey into the Self. So you can immediately step right in and get guided healing. In addition to all of this really awesome shit, I also have coming the Healing Garden app, which is, I'm so excited about the app. Like, did you get the app? This is going to come out and I'm going to be like, did you get the app? Did you get the app? Because the app is going to be all of my classes organized. It's going to be all of my workshops. It's going to be daily content where you get basically everything except in one place. So you don't have to go through a feed to find me. It's going to be just on the app. It's going to be so beautiful. And I cannot wait. So thank you so much for joining me, and may the kindest of words always find you.